Have you ever said no to a guy and ended up regretting it deeply? Okay, so have any of you girls ever said no to a guy and then regretted it like, way too much? Because I have a story that still haunts me even 5 years later. Like full body cringe regret. It was during my senior year of college and there was this guy, Andrew. He was the quiet, hot kind, soft-spoken, guitar case always slung on his back, messy curls, wore those vintage band tees that looked better on him than they had any right to. He wasn't the kind of guy who slid into DMs with, "You up?" at 1 a.m. Nah, this man would burn you a playlist and write the song titles in cursive. We had psych class together and he'd always save me a seat. We'd talk about stuff, like actual stuff. I told him about my fear of turning into my mom, who collects expired coupons like they're NFTs, and he actually listened. He used to draw little doodles in the margins of my notebook. Nothing major, just tiny cartoon cats and hearts and stuff. Real subtle. Real cute. Then one rainy-ass Thursday afternoon he asked me out. In the middle of the campus courtyard. I still remember the way his hoodie was soaked and clinging to his forearms. He looked at me with this soft smile and just said, "I was wondering if you wanted to go get dinner sometime. Just us." And what did I do? Freaking. Panicked. I told him I wasn't looking to date anyone even though I totally was. I just got scared. I just broken up with this walking red flag 2 months prior, and I guess part of me thought I didn't deserve something real. He just nodded. Said, "Cool. Thanks for being honest." And walked away. No drama. No second ask. Nothing. The next week he dropped out of psych. 2 weeks later, someone told me he'd transferred schools. I never saw him again. I even stalked him on Instagram last year. Dude's engaged now. To someone who looks like she bakes homemade bread and runs an Etsy shop for vintage mugs. I could have been drinking chamomile tea in a hand-knit sweater right now instead of binging sad girl playlists on repeat. Moral of the story? Sometimes saying no isn't brave. Sometimes it's just fear in disguise. God, this hit way too close. I did the same thing with a guy named Marco in high school. I told myself I was too independent for a relationship when really I just didn't think I was good enough for someone that kind. A decade later, I saw him on LinkedIn, LOL, and he's doing humanitarian work in freaking Kenya. Meanwhile, I cried over a guy who left me on read for 6 months. So yeah. Solidarity, sis. Damn. Chamomile tea in a hand-knit sweater got me. I still think about him when I can't sleep. His name was Jalen. He worked at this indie bookstore I'd go to when I wanted to pretend I was a quirky, mysterious girl instead of a burned-out intern with caffeine-induced heart palpitations. He had this soft voice, kind of like if lo-fi music could talk, and he always remembered the books I liked. Even the weird, niche ones like that out-of-print poetry collection I thought no one else knew about. Anyway, one day I walk in looking like I just lost a fight with a printer, which I had technically, and he says, "You okay?" I laugh it off, tell him about the toner explosion, and he grins and says, "Maybe you need a distraction. You free Friday?" And I just froze. I swear my soul left my body for a second. I didn't even say no. I told him I'd text him later that night. And I didn't. Not because I didn't want to. I was just spiraling. Overthinking. What if he thinks I'm boring? What if I say something dumb? What if he finds out I have anxiety and chew my nails like a raccoon with a Red Bull? So I ghosted. Literally ghosted a sweet, book-loving guy who looked like he'd cry at a sad Pixar short. Weeks went by. I kept going to the bookstore but I never saw him again. Asked a girl at the register once just casually like, "Hey, does Jalen still work here?" And she said he moved out of state. I never sent the text. It's still in my drafts. Sometimes I open it just to look at it. It says, "Hey, sorry I got weird. I'd really like to go out if the offer still stands." I wish I could tell him I was just scared. That I thought he was too good for me. That I didn't want to ruin something good by being me. But that's the thing, right? You never know when it's the last time. The last text. The last chance. And now he's just a missed moment in my head, playing on a loop like a sad indie movie. This broke me. I've been you. Sometimes I think we don't sabotage love because we don't want it, but because we want it too much and we're scared of what it'll mean to finally have something that real. I hope you send that kind of text to someone someday. Even if it's not him. Even if it's yourself. That last line? Okay, this happened in high school and honestly I still think about it when I pass any random bus stop. There was this guy, Leo. Not like the theater kid, football star, alpha energy kinda guy. No. Leo was the quiet kind who always had headphones in but still somehow heard everything. He wore black hoodies even when it was 95 degrees Fahrenheit out and read Murakami during lunch breaks like it was nothing. Total enigma. Kinda hot. Kinda terrifying. Kind of everything. We took the same bus home on Fridays after drama club. Yeah, I was that girl. And I noticed he never had to take that bus. Like he lived on the other side of town. But every damn Friday there he was. Just chillin' there like it was a coincidence, earbuds in, hands in his hoodie pocket, waiting. After weeks of awkward small talk and shared earbuds, he finally says, I was thinking, we could go to that old drive-in this weekend. I mean, if you're into bad horror movies and lukewarm popcorn. I panicked. Again. Because I'm apparently emotionally allergic to nice boys who listen to vinyl and smell like cedarwood. I said, maybe, which we all know is code for I'm too emotionally constipated to say yes. Then I ghosted. Didn't take the bus the next Friday. Or the one after that. Or the one after that. I started catching rides with my mom, of all people. I never explained. Just vanished. Fast forward 3 years. I'm home from college walking downtown with my little sister. And I see him. Leo. He's holding hands with this tall girl who looks like she writes slam poetry and knits ironic scarves. He doesn't see me. And I don't say hi. I just watch them walk away thinking about all the bad horror movies we never watched and the popcorn we never shared. It's wild how you can miss a relationship that never even happened. Miss a relationship that never even happened, hit me like a damn truck. It's crazy how many lives we could have had if we just said yes to that one moment. Girl, I bet he waited on that bench for weeks before giving up. You just unlocked a memory I buried in 2014. Thanks. Alright, buckle up because this one's embarrassing in the kind of way you only admit to strangers on the internet. So I was freshly dumped, like still haven't unfollowed him dumped, and needed to get to my best friend's engagement party across town. I called an Uber. And he showed up. Luca. Dark curls, warm smile, that lazy way of talking that makes you forget you have a spine. The man had the nerve to compliment my music taste 3 minutes in and then hit me with, you seem like you're good at pretending to be okay. I just blinked and laughed. Because he was right. We talked the whole ride. About everything and nothing. I told him about the breakup. He told me about how he writes poetry in the Notes app, maybe, but it was working that night. When we pulled up, I didn't want to get out of the car. And I swear I didn't imagine it, he lingered too. Then he said, if you ever want to go for a ride without a destination, let me know. I didn't reply. Just smiled like a coward, got out and watched him drive off. Later that night, buzzed on Prosecco and bad decisions, I found him on Instagram. Took me 10 minutes. I typed out a message, hey, I wouldn't mind that ride. But I didn't send it. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. One night I finally built up the nerve to go back and send the message. His account was gone. No mutuals. No trace. Just poof. Digital ghosting. I don't even know if it was his real name. And now I'm haunted by a hot poet Uber driver who might have been a figment of my emotional breakdown. Oh no, not the vanishing Instagram. That man was either a guardian angel, a glitch in the matrix, or the one that got away. Either way, I hope he's out there, writing moody poetry about the girl who got out of his car but never left his mind. Ride with no destination is some Nicholas Sparks level game. This one still makes me wince. His name was Eric. I met him at this coffee shop where I worked back in my mid-20s when I was in my emotionally unavailable with a side of sarcasm phase. He was a regular, always came in at 7:15 a.m., ordered a black coffee and read actual newspapers. Like who does that anymore? We chat. Stupid stuff at first, weather, coffee beans, dumb articles in The Onion. Then one morning he brought me a book. Not like, hey, thought you'd like this kind of book? No. This man highlighted passages. Wrote notes in the margins. Said it reminded him of the way I talk. I almost cried. At work. In front of my manager who thought espresso shots were a personality. Anyway, one day he stays behind after everyone clears out, sips his coffee and just says, I think I'd really like to take you out if you're okay with that. And I panicked. Notice a pattern here? Not because I didn't like him, but because I did. And that scared the hell out of me. He was kind, thoughtful, patient. The opposite of the chaotic situationships I usually found myself in. So I did what any emotionally stunted person would do. I told him, I'm not really dating right now. And just like that, he nodded, smiled, said, no worries, and never came back. Literally. Just disappeared from the coffee shop rotation like he'd been a mirage. I even checked with the barista at the other cafe down the block. No sign of him. I ended up dating this toxic musician with a man bun and a Spotify following of 83 people. We broke up when he needed to find himself in Bali, and ghosted me before the return flight. Meanwhile, Eric? I saw him years later at a bookstore. He was holding hands with a woman who looked like she'd definitely write thank you cards for fun. He didn't see me. Or maybe he did and just chose not to. I guess sometimes the two nice guys are exactly what you needed, just too late to admit it. This hit like a freight train. I used to think nice meant boring. But girl, consistency is sexy. Accountability is sexy. Not vanishing in Bali to find yourself is sexy. We all learn the hard way sometimes. Not 83 Spotify followers, LMAO I'm dead.